Okay, welcome back. So now that you've seen how Backbone works with constructor functions and how we can extend an object to have Backbone methods plus defaults, let's go ahead and talk about our save function and adding more functionality within to our person model. By now you should know that this is a model, and when you're doing a constructor, you're actually putting relevant things together. You're organizing, not just having like a whole bunch of variables all over the place. That's called spaghetti code in industry terms. When you have like so many different variables all over the place, like a var name, first name, var last name. Instead of that, you're just organizing all of those things, even like the ability to print somebody's name. You're organizing it into a concept, if you will, that's called a model. And then elegantly, you can just use your model once, save yourself some line code, and it pretty much has like all of those built-in methods. Plus, by extending, methods from Backbone or other libraries too, you actually will, gain more functionality without having to write a ton of code. And really, that's what you want to aim for too, as a programmer, as a developer. You don't want to rewrite code, especially if it's already been written once. What you want to focus on is writing your own unique code that is going to do something great. And you want to do it on the backbone or the shoulders of other great developers. That's what you want to aim for. Of course, that's the goal. It's really messy sometimes to get there. Sometimes you do end up rewriting a lot of code just to figure out what's happening. But, this is a long-term goal for you and, your career. You want to aim to write precise and concise code, like good code that doesn't drive people nuts. If you can get to that point where you're adding new functionality as opposed to just rewriting it again and again, that's kind of like the cream of the crop right there, if you will. Okay, so coming back into this, I'm going to talk about something I just tried out to myself. And I think in JavaScript constructor forms, when you create a function right here with an object, you can say something like console log this.name, right? And if I were to do something like person.onSay, and I wanted to print out the name, well, I get an error. And this is because Backbone, in the defaults function here, doesn't want you to put in functions within the defaults. It's reserved for just properties, namespaces. So I can only give names. I can only, do true or false. So, I could have another thing that I write in here, another property where I could say maybe finished, and I could say false, or one that you'll see often a lot of defaults is completed, and then I could turn this to true later. Now, if I put this, if I go ahead and define this or show you what I got now, console log person1, well, there you go. I get that entire backbone, all the attributes that are there. But if you look at my attributes, you can see that now I've got a completed attribute too, in addition to all these properties and methods. So again, you can't really write functions in the default object, but Backbone has, and this is something, this is just part of the learning curve of Backbone, you can actually initialize any kind of methods you want with the initialize keywords. So one thing to remember now you're in Backbone. You're no longer just doing JavaScript. You're using the framework. And when you use a framework, you're following conventions that other people have thought of, standardized. This is now like you're entering the world of no longer we're doing spaghetti code, but you're following good best practices. And this is where you really have to read up a lot too about Backbone.JS and why they decided to do these things. But this initialize property here allows you to call a function, your own custom function. And here I can say console log. But now I can't say, remember again, Backbone has conventions, so I can't just say this.name because it's not going to know what name I'm referring to because of function scope. So we can try this here. Actually, let's go ahead and here move up. Oh, Okay, so I just want to do to.json. Actually, I'm going to comment this out because I want to talk about the initialize function. So the initialize function also runs as soon as you create a new person or a new model. So I don't even need this now. So I'm just going to say var person1 is equal to new person. I'm going to make another one called var person2 equal to new person2. Not new person2 like as in a number, but just another new person. I am using a model, and I'm going to create an object. So I get undefined and undefined because this doesn't know what name is. It's not in the same scope as defaults. So in order to get this name, you have to use the backbone method, which is called this.get. We're talking about backbone now. When you talk about this, you're talking about person extended with backbone's models. And you want to use the get method. Remember, I tried to use it before, but I didn't know what to get. Well, now I do. I want to get the name. So I'm going to get the name. And this time, when I run it and clear my console, I get back 2 blanks. And that's perfect because that's exactly what I did. By default, it's blank. So, remember how I talked about in the last video how we could write simple one-line object instances, if you will. That's really like the cream of the crop kind of coding at this point. No longer do I have to have tons and tons of variables all hanging all over the place. I can just do something like this. Var person equals a new person. And I could even go further by just saying var vj. Right? Because that's what I was doing before. And I'm going to put in an object, pass in an object, and by my name is no longer by default going to be blank. I'm just going to say it's vj. And when I clear the console, if I run it, I get vj. Gone are like all the console loggings and adding print functions. It's all built in here. I buried all of that functionality in here. It's really cool. And now I could do var Samantha, or I'll just do Sam. There's a new person named Sam. Or semicolon 2. Now I get VJ and Sam because I'm rerunning it. So if I run it, it should just say VJ and Sam. Okay, clear console. We're good. Let's do one more thing before we finish up for this video. And that is I'm going to add my method now, say, right? Before I couldn't use it, but now I'm going to show you how to use it because in Backbone convention we have to declare our other functions outside of the defaults object. So I'm going to say at this point console log this dot get name, right? And instead of console logging it here, I'm just going to say this dot say. So I'm going to call the function, and can you guess what this is going to do? Boom, VJ Sam. Cool, right? It's awesome. I am a person. The person by default has a name. We could really change this from age, completed, to maybe something like married, right? And we could also add an age property. We want to be meaningful about what these things really are when we build a model, and then by default age 0, and we can add some more functionality in here. We can say is, then we could do this dot get age, and we could do maybe something simple for now. We can build on this. It can do some more functionality, but let's see. You get the picture. If I wanted, I could write like an if statement. If they're true, if they're married, then print out married. If they're not married, then print out false or something like that. Not married. So, but we're just gonna keep it easy for now. And actually, that could be a good homework assignment for you. All right, so let's try it Let's make sure I didn't put any errors in there. So BJ is 0, married, false. Sam is 0, married, false. Can finish up here by putting in age 12, or 24 actually. Samantha's probably older than that. The real Samantha New York anyway. But I want to give it a real age. And then my age is, of course, 12, because I'm a kid forever in Peter Pan. And then, let's see, married. I don't know. False. We'll just leave it by default. So actually, I don't have to say anything. I don't have to tell anyone yet. I'm sure my fiance is going to kill me. All right, and Samantha is married. So we'll go ahead and clear this. Run. So Samantha is married, true. BJ is not married, but I'm 12. I'm Peter Pan, and then Samantha's 24. Okay. All right, cool. So again, elegant code. Imagine too that you've put this in a separate JavaScript file somewhere else. So when you write your basic code, you're just calling new models and passing in information in 2 lines. And in 2 lines, you've got all this great functionality. And that's really the power of Backbone.JS.